All right, the commentators knew it, the fans knew it, the players knew it. It was just one of those weekends we had to get through to get to Worlds. But with that said, one of the divisions proved to be slightly interesting, so let's talk about how Idlewild ended and why it was more idle than wild.
With the ace!
It was pretty tough to sit through, I'll be honest, but with that said, there was still a few interesting points that will be especially interesting as we get to Worlds. And if you like this content and want to support me, I am launching my own membership on YouTube. So for $2.99 a month, you can get exclusive uploads, as well as your name being featured on the credits of every single upload. So if you want to do that, just go down to the description and go to my membership link. No worries if you're not interested in that. It is just one way to help support this channel. All right, so for FPO, it was a snooze fest. I felt like I was honestly more bored about disc golf than I've ever been. And I've had some like low moments during like 2021, 2020 FPO where it was like just page dominated. This kind of felt like that, where there was no discernible reason to keep watching. But this is kind of my job, so I tried very hard to focus, and there seemed to be only one player that was still truly in it, and that is Ohn the Dog Scoggins, who honestly started pretty slow, and another player, Emily Weatherman, was lighting it up. Going 6 under after the first few holes of round 2, it looked like she might have a potential to really fight for the win, but then she didn't, going +7 on that round with 4 birdies. I don't know how you do that, but Idlewild really does eat you alive, and while she led by 4 at one point, she ends up finishing at 7 over, putting her in 14th place.
Oh, what a shot from Emily.
And some other names that you might think did a lot better just did not. Missy finishes 12th, Holland was on her way to finishing 12th, and then took a crazy turkey to finish it out, putting her actually in 5th place, which is pretty solid. But in kind of crazy fashion, Sarah Hokum lights it up in the final round, getting 5 under, and secures 3rd place, marking the lowest 3rd place finish for an event in FPO since 2022 Portland. Just absolutely insane how bad the field was this weekend, but we do have to remember there was no Europeans, there was no Haley King, and no Paige Pierce. So in all reality, this was basically a Silver Series event. I know it didn't have the title of Silver Series, but in all reality, that's what it was. And I can't show this, but I really want to. There was literally footage of RC tracks and dog parks during the actual round. That was how bored these commentators and filmers were. There was such little action, there was a lot of backups, and it was just a slow burn the entire way through. And that leads us to the one player that actually did burn it up, Ohn Scoggins, who just played so consistently the entire way through. And after hole 13, she was leading by 7 strokes. So you basically knew, okay, Ohn is gonna run away with this, and that is exactly what she did. Even after a double and a bogey on hole 14 and 15. She was able to do that because she went 8 under on the first 13 holes of this round. So there was nobody that was even gonna come close to her. There was one point where Ryan looked like there might be a potential to make it a little bit interesting, but that was just not the case. It was never looking like anybody else was gonna win besides Ohn. Besides making 5 C2 putts on the weekend, she missed 9 circle 1 putts. And that is just not something we ever expect from Ohn, especially going into Worlds. But this course does just eat you alive and it grinds at you, so it totally makes sense why that would happen. But in much the same way as all Ohn's wins, it was just so many people cheering her on and wanting her to win this event. It was literally her birthday and she just turned 43. So she is truly astonishing, marking that you can be a professional level disc golfer at an older age, which is just incredibly inspiring because I know so many of us are getting to those older years and we always have excuses for why we're not playing well, like, oh, my back hurts, my knee hurts, my elbow hurts, all this stuff. While that's very valid, it is also true that we can fight back no matter what age it is, and I've played with so many older people that destroy me in events. So yes, you can play a dominant level of disc golf at an older age. And with her last 2 finishes here being 2nd place, it really felt like she earned this win.
I feel great. I have been 2nd place 2 years in a row. Are you tired of 2nd place yet?
There were so many lines that she just pured, and I really feel like this entire layout lends itself to her game especially. So many turnover forehands and really wide hyzers allow her to throw so well on this course. And of course, Ohn, being able to hit 5 circle 2 putts on a course like this is incredibly important to making sure you get those birdies and get those par saves. And I totally would not have expected this, but this is only the 2nd tour win that she has this year, with the last one being Open at Austin. So even though her average finish is 6th place or better, this isn't really a dominant season for her. So being able to secure this win is super important for her game. But again, it definitely helps that there was no Europeans for the entire weekend.
Fill this one in there, whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
And then on MPO, it looked like it was probably going to be a runaway with Calvin, but that was definitely not the way it panned out. After an early push from Ezra on chase card, it looked like things might get very interesting with 4 people in the mix. That being Ezra, Isaac, Calvin, and Joey Buckets. And something about Joey's game in this final round, it just felt so smooth the entire way. But in all reality, there was nobody that had a standout front 9, with basically everybody getting 3 birdies on the front 9. There really was nobody that was running away with it. But of course, with it being wooded, you know Isaac is going to destroy, and he just laid laced so many lines that it truly felt like this is his event to take down. But then we cut back to Ezra and he is doing some things. Birdieing holes 10, 11, and 12, which in a kind of interesting fashion, he didn't make a single circle 2-putt, but he didn't need them. But at this point, it still felt like Ezra was just a little bit too far from lead card to really make an impact. But I gotta say, a player that just kept fighting throughout this entire round had to be Joey Buckets, continually hitting his lines and hitting some long putts and some long par saves. But you really cannot afford any bogeys on this course, so it was crucial to hit those. But then on the back nine, it looked like Isaac was running away with it, making every single hole look so effortless. And even when he messed up, it still panned out pretty well for him. But then some weird stuff started happening, like a crazy bounce back in the forest on hole 12 on his drive. Makes no sense how it happened, but with Idlewild being the way it is, anything can happen at any point in time, good or bad, and that included Joey getting a great redirect. But then on hole 13, that is where things really flipped for him, going out of bounds on the drive and then out of bounds again on the upshot, turning a relatively straightforward hole in a decent lead into a terrible triple bogey. So at that point, Joey took a birdie and the entire momentum shifted because Calvin was going into a cold stretch and Ezra was still a decent margin back. It became a question of can Joey maintain his composure for just a couple more holes and then he will secure a win. But Ezra just kept fighting. Every single hole looked like even if he was out of position, he was still carding birdies. But Calvin just narrowly stayed in it. I know he had so many opportunities to really take it away and that just didn't happen, or what I believe to be just putting woes. But then going on hole 16, gets an insanely easy eagle, but after some really good birdies from Ezra, including one of the craziest bounces I've ever seen on hole 17.
Gonna get lucky.
And then finishing it out with a birdie on 18, Ezra ends at 26 under, which although didn't feel quite close enough, there was a world where Joey takes a bogey and we get some amazing playoff holes. And then just for some good vibes, Isaac did take an eagle on 16, but it was far too late, going triple bogey, bogey, and then double. And after going OB on 16, Anderson took a par, and so it truly became a battle of can you just birdie one of the next two holes. And while 17 and 18 are relatively easy holes to birdie, during the stress, there are so many weird things that can come up. And with Joey being a little bit far away from the basket, it looked like it was going to be a difficult putt, and with the insanely scary drop off, if he hits anywhere on the rim or top of the band, it could definitely bounce into the creek, which would almost certainly ruin first place for him. So he had to make this putt. And then he hits it dead center, and while you just said it was only 33 feet, it felt so much further. So we move on to 18, and Joey nails the drive, and being so far on the left side, so he basically just had to aim for the trees, and he would secure his first Elite Series win. And then this happens.
He's actually running the basket. It's gonna get underneath the tree. Oh, he hits the basket, guys. He hits
literally inches from going in for an eagle. It didn't happen, but man, that is insane that he was able to do that with everyone watching for the win. Truly one of the most hype moments I think I've ever watched. So with that, he secures his win, being the first Castpass player I think that has ever won an Elite Series event. And I gotta say, if you do watch live on this, you gotta just listen to what he said before the interview, because he was like, do I do my speech now? All right, cool. Just being so mellow about it, and it was just weird. It was just weird how freaking chill he was over winning an Elite Series. Now again, field strength was a little bit less, but it was much less noticeable on MPO. So he really did earn this win.
I mean, it's incredible. It's nothing like I've ever even dreamed of.
With so many crucial drives and amazing putts, going 11 for 11 from circle 1 and making 2 circle 2 putts on his final round. And yes, while I did go OB twice in that final round, it did not matter. And I have been saying again and again all season, especially when he was in Europe destroying, that he will secure an Elite Series win. It is just a matter of time. There were so many moments in Europe that he just looked amazing. He looked dialed. And yes, I think he had a recent stretch where he was like really falling off, going 67th at Ledgestone, 70th at European Open, but also before that he took 4th at Krokul and 2nd at Swedish Open. So while his consistency may not be entirely there yet, his ability to play when it matters definitely is. And here's a little bit about what he had to say about that mentality going into this.
I really wasn't thinking about what I needed to do. I was more so just trying to be happy and content just playing disc golf. I wasn't really thinking about what I needed to do. Just focus one shot at a time and just enjoy the flight of the disc. Watch the card mates. Back to before Idlewild, when I missed 2 cuts in a row, I was in such a state where I was so obsessed with not throwing a bad shot that I couldn't handle the feeling of when I did play bad. So I would just make myself numb to the feeling, and that's why I would just continue to play bad and I would lose focus.
So overall, just seems like one of the chillest guys that I've ever seen on tour. I filmed him a couple of times, but never really heard too much chat about him. So I'm so excited for this day to finally occur, and I really cannot wait to see what the future holds for him because he really does have all the tools needed to be a great player. It is just a matter of consistency. So with that, what did you think about all these results? Did you foresee Isaac totally choking in just a couple of holes, going from a great chance of winning to losing by 4 strokes? I didn't even really mention Calvin, but he did end up taking second place 2 strokes behind Joey. But man, it really felt like there were so many moments where Calvin could have won this, but just had so many short putts. I just really don't know what his mentality is on final rounds because it seems like he is just so close to winning, but it just never happens. But with that, the next event is Worlds. Let's get it. So excited for it, and I hope you guys are too. I will be there in person. So if you do see a Wild Runs backpack, that is almost certainly me. So definitely say hi if you are there. So with that, Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.